Hello, my name is Austin Kohler, and I'd like to welcome you to the definitive ranking of Quentin Tarantino's filmography, the most objective and uncontested Tarantino ranking on the internet. The rules are simple, and they are the same as before. Quinn's films are compared and put up against each other only. They are not competing against all movies ever. Tarantino versus Tarantino. His 10 feature films are compared only against one another. So if, for example, Django gets a D grade, it's not a D movie in broad terms. It's not The Mother or whatever one of your D movies is. We go alphabetically, and this is a conversation, so leave your opinions and rankings in the comments below. Let's get this one out of the way real quick. Death Proof. Death Proof. I was up in the air about whether or not to include Death Proof, but I figured if Quinn counts it as one of his 10, then so will I. It is so boring, and the bar segment is just such a slog. It's slow and meandering, and it just goes on and on for what feels like forever. And then, like, poof, after this huge mega slog, all of a sudden it's like a whole new movie starts. You just don't care about the characters. It's usually a strength of Tarantino's and his better films is his character development. Death Proof doesn't have any of that. His style, the self-referential, over-the-top comedic action that most people are going to Quinn's movies to see, it's not there. The girls and Russell are one of two saving graces of this movie. They all do a great job, and you can tell that they're all committed to the script. The second positive is the practicals. If you're into that bullet car chase action, a little bit slower, you know, it's not quite as fast moving as maybe something we're used to, then you're going to be into it. But if you're not as impressed by that kind of action, you know, because maybe you've got a little bit of that TikTok melted brain, you know, things aren't moving fast enough, then you're not going to be impressed. Last note, Zoe Bell is a badass. Death Proof is F-tier Tarantino. Django Unchained. Wow, we really started at one side of the spectrum. We're just flying to the other side. Django Unchained is Quentin's best-paced, most complete story. From beginning to end, it has a perfect narrative flow. Directors have lots of jobs, but their main job when making a movie is to maintain the vision, energy, the style. It's to maintain the feeling of the story that's being told. There are just so many moving parts when it comes to making a movie. There are so many people involved. And the very best directors, they're able to juggle all of those moving parts and keep that integrity and spirit of their films intact. It's what separates the greats from the rest. All of the actors have phenomenal chemistry. Everybody's performing at the top of their game. It's a huge strength of Tarantino's to bring out the very best in his actors, and it is on full display here in the very best ways. All of Tarantino's strengths are highlighted, and few, if any, of his weaknesses are here to critique, and just, it is so freaking funny. What's funnier, Django or Pulp? You let me know down in the comments. Leave a cowboy emoji and an orange emoji for which one you think is funnier. I'm casting my ballot for Django, but it's very close, and I could be persuaded otherwise. Regardless, Django Unchained is A tier through and through. Hateful Eight. I did not like Hateful Eight the first time I watched it. My biggest complaints were just that it felt like it was too slow, and then that mostly that the twist wasn't a twist. I went in just like with totally wrong expectations. Before release, it was advertised as like a whodunit, you know, like a find the killer in the room, clue, mystery type of movie. And so when I saw, I went in with that mindset, and so I was all in, looking for the killer, trying to figure it out before the reveal happened. And then when the reveal, in quotes, like did happen, when it shows the gang beneath the haberdashery, I just felt totally tricked because there just was no way that I could have figured that out on my own. But when I rewatched it sometime later, I watched the extended cut and I watched it with the correct expectations, and I loved it. With my expectations correctly set at slow burn and like knowing who's who, made it and make it a great movie. But you've got to factor it all in. It is slow, and there is a just ton of talking, and there's not a lot happening, especially in the first half. And the fact that everything is happening all in the same place doesn't help it. There isn't any real character depth or development. There are like reveals about these people, what they did before and yada yada, but everybody's pretty much the same. They're all just hateful, grumpy, and bloodthirsty. But when everything starts falling apart, things get crazy and fun, as usual. Quentin, C tier. Buongiorno. This just might be my masterpiece. Coming off of Death Proof's failure, Quinn had a fire lit under him. And that's capitalism, baby. Let the market decide, and the market decided that they didn't like Death Proof, so he was pushed into making an actually good movie. His words, not mine. He wanted the potentially best director of all time title back, and in my opinion, he got it. Inglorious is Tarantino. If Tarantino's movies were video games, they'd be linear stage-based games where here we are in this area to play through this level and kill the boss. Then we're going to go back to the home screen. We're going to load into another level. We're going to do that over and over till it slowly builds and climaxes to the end boss. The way that you can judge when Tarantino's at the very top of his game when it comes to writing his dialogue, it's when you can watch the same scenes over and over, and even though it's long and drawn out and you know how it ends, you're still engaged. Inglorious has it all. A tier Tarantino. Jackie Brown. You can tell Quinn is still working out the kinks here. You know, he's still finding himself. He's still trying to figure it out. You know, he's gotten a lot of feedback from Reservoir and Pulp that he's too violent, and that if he wanted to, he wouldn't be able to do like a more mainstream for the time film. So what does he do here? He sets out to prove people wrong. And let me just say, he did prove them wrong. He shows that he's able to refrain himself and that he can write and direct like a more classic and normal film. Jackie Brown doesn't have what I talked about before, you know, that video game style and flow, the stage play energy on screen. This is just your classic film. And it is ranked highly among like the broader scope of cinema. But this is the definitive ranking of Tarantino's filmography. So Jackie Brown against his 9 other films. To that end, it's Quentin F tier. Kill Bill, Volume 1. So these 3 films, Jackie, Kill Bill, Volume 1 and 2, they are going in order as they were released, so you can kind of keep that in the back of your mind as we're going through them. Coming off of Jackie's lackluster reception, you can see Quinn being pulled every which way according to how the media is talking about his movies and, you know, the reception of his movies, what's going on around him. Pulp was huge. It showed he had chops, but it was only his second film. He's still young. He's clearly unsure of himself. He's insecure for whatever reasons. People said you can't make a normal movie after Pulp, so he made Jackie, and it wasn't what people wanted. It's not why people liked him in the first place. So then with Kill Bill, you can see him jumping back, reacting to the criticism, going full bore into the violence, turning it up to 100. It may not be as dialogue loaded, but it's that creative and innovative Quentin that fans wanted to see, and people loved it, rightfully so. Volume 1 is B tier Tarantino. Kill Bill, Volume 2. What's interesting to me is that these feel like different movies, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Tarantino stands by them being one movie, and I don't really blame him, especially, you know, considering he has this stupid self-imposed 10-movie rule. But to me, they are definitely 2 films, not just literally 2 films, but stylistically as well. It is filmed, edited, and written like a different movie. The way the bride is checking names off of her list is different. It's much slower. It's not quite as snappy as Volume 1's, and it has more of like a Jackie Brown energy than it does a Django energy. Tarantino, C tier. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Love letter films, movies made to reminisce over like a bygone era or evoke some of that sweet, sweet nostalgia. They're pretty hit and miss. When they hit, they usually do hit pretty hard. Movies like Stand By Me or Dazed and Confused or, yes, Superbad. And when they miss, they usually airball. Movies like Babylon, The Great Gatsby, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's the hardest movie to judge on the list for sure, but I feel confident when I say it is not why we pay to see Tarantino movies. Is it well acted? 1000%. The cinematography, Robert Richardson crushes it as usual. The dialogue and directing, bravo, Quentin Tarantino. But It feels like 3 hours. It's not 3 hours. It almost is 3 hours, but it's not. It's slow. I need some suspense. I need a little action. I need to care. I need a reason to watch this movie because I wasn't born in the 60s and I don't have a foot fetish. D tier. Pulp Fiction. This is when Quinn first started cooking with fire, baby. This movie has had zillions of reviews, hot takes, analyses, breakdowns, analyses. So you already have your opinion, and I doubt it's any different from mine. A tier Tarantino, obviously. Quinn went from 0 to 100. Pulp Fiction is quintessential. Did you see what I did there? Tarantino. It really is, though. I don't need to say it, but I will. The dialogue, the plot structure, the violence, the characters, the feat. This is why we pay the ticket fee. This is why he's always in the conversation. And this is why we look forward to whatever he's going to do next. A tier. Reservoir Dogs. And here we are, ending with the beginning. Quentin would be proud. I cannot believe Quinn got the cast that he did for his first freaking movie. He needed a strong cast. We may have never gotten the Quentin Tarantino we have if he hadn't gotten the lineup that he did. Harvey, Tim, Michael, Steve, Lawrence, Edward. He is batting over 300 with this lineup, so he had better have hit a home run. Now, is the film itself a home run? I don't think so. It's a first movie, and it feels like a really great first movie, but it was absolutely a home run for Quinn's career. It's a strong story brought to life through really solid performances. I think those of you who rate it higher than what I'm about to give it should give it a rewatch because it's not quite as good as I remembered. Still very strong, but it is Tarantino C tier. Now, to wrap up, I didn't do this with my Nolan list, and I wish that I would have. I want to end with my overall thoughts on the director himself, Quentin Tarantino. The man is an auteur. He made a style. It is one that many have imitated, but no one can replicate. He is clearly an extremely talented writer. He has a gift of getting great performances from his actors. I think he far surpasses Nolan in that aspect. He's beyond educated and well-versed in cinema. He is one of a kind. I also think he is a bit of a baby while also having just a mega god complex. His knee-jerk reactions to negativity around his movies is immature, and this whole 10 movies thing because of my legacy, it's ridiculous and embarrassing. I want to make a full video on this, and if you'd like to see that, let me know. But just to summarize, as far as I'm concerned, the 10 movies ego trip completely removes him from the best directors of all time conversation. But I still am very grateful at least to get 11 films from him. And that's it. That is the definitive and uncontested ranking of Quentin Tarantino. Is it really uncontested though? Is it the definitive ranking? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subs by the end of the year. It's only possible if you guys click that little button below and subscribe. It would mean a ton to me if you did that. Be super grateful. And let me know who you would like me to do next. Open to suggestions. Thanks for watching my video. See ya.